Welcome to Tea Talk. Today's topic is quite different. We are talking about negative thought patterns and how to break them, and the benefits of being able to change the patterns, but also understand when it's important to recognize the cause of whatever negativity you're harboring or feeling inside. So this is one of the most difficult things to do, is when you wake up and for whatever reason, maybe things going on in your life, your relationships, your job situation, it can be a lot of different things, just make you feel like I have no motivation to move forward. It's just darkness. I really just want to go back to sleep. It's very hard to think of anything remotely positive. It's very difficult and doesn't mean that you're clinically depressed. I'll be very careful in talking about diagnosis and the cut-off point for where you need maybe medication or you need to see a therapist. But most of us, we have days when we just feel like I can't be bothered. And there can be different types of thoughts that keep us going in a negative circle. So we can be making conclusions about things we don't really know in regards to the world around us, what other people are thinking. For instance, if you're in a relationship and you feel like you're not getting the attention that you deserve or you're not being appreciated, it's very easy to jump to the conclusion that they can't see my good qualities or we don't really fit together. But the explanation can really be a lot of other things. Maybe that person is going through something on their own. Maybe they're not particularly skilled in communicating how they feel about you, even though they might have a lot of positive feelings and so on. A lot of girls and women might feel insecure in a way that's related to their body, whether they're attracted, living up to those pretty high expectations that society might have, someone who's sexy, elegant, cute, innocent, all of that at the same time, and you might feel like I'm not really any of that. For a man, there can be other things. Of course, these things can be relevant for both genders. It's not really a strict division, but there tend to be some issues that are reoccurring. So a man might feel like I'm not getting enough intimacy, sexual intimacy, and interpret that as she's not attracted to me, she doesn't love me, or simply just feel disconnected from their partner, or they might feel like I'm not enough of a man because I'm not providing, or I don't make so much money, or I don't have those qualities that I would want to have, or that they think that the partner is looking for. And so jumping to conclusions, or even thinking that you're not doing a good enough job just because you might have misunderstood something or gotten some feedback that wasn't exquisite. Those are all parts of a negative thought pattern. And so what do we do about this? There are different techniques, but one thing I really want to stress is that some of the suggested techniques out there implying that your problem is not really a problem, and you have to be a little bit careful there, because especially one technique that comes to mind, which is called reframing, or it's got different names, but I like the word reframing. It's quite descriptive, which basically implies that you look at your life in a different way, you use a different perspective. And so instead of focusing on all the negatives, you might think, but I'm really blessed, I'm really lucky, I've got all this stuff, I have got a job, or I have got a partner, or tiny stuff like I've got a nice view, or the birds are singing. There are so many positive things in my life. I'm not injured, I'm healthy, or I might have a good friendship with someone. There's always something positive to see. Now, if you're really depressed, you're not going to be able to see those things. You're not even going to want to think along those lines. Depression is a scary thing because it's as if we become comfortable in the negativity, and anything that might sound positive, we're just going to reject it. We will just reject it because it doesn't fit with the reality that we're in at the moment. So it's just going to be, the birds are singing, but what on earth does that do for me? The happy people can enjoy that, I can't enjoy that. So reframing is about focusing on those good things, and sometimes it's really useful. Now take a deep breath, think about all the positive things, and it might actually turn around your thought patterns. It might make you realize that, hold on, I'm just being really emotional right now, or I'm taking something too far, I'm taking something too deep. There's no need. However, the risky thing about this technique is that if you really and truly have a problem, you're in a really difficult situation, maybe someone is mistreating you, maybe you're in a dysfunctional relationship and you really shouldn't be there, then if you try to always reframe it into thinking, oh, I'm still very lucky, it's still good enough, you might be doing yourself a disfavor. When you try to see the positives in everything to the point where you're turning a blind eye to the negatives, really bad negatives, then that's not a good thing. If you're in a situation where you're being abused or you have some factors in your life that really do need changing, reframing is not going to do anything but helping you deny all those bad things. So, yeah, use that technique wisely. And that leads me to another technique which can be very effective. If you do realize that something is wrong in the situation that you're in, then taking back control and saying to yourself that I actually have power to change something. I can look forward, I can make the right adjustments. You will never be able to control everything. You can't control illness and other circumstances that, you're just forced to live with. But you can change the way you think about them, which is the reframing bit. You can also take active steps to making sure that you don't find yourself in that negative situation again. It can be understanding your own emotional reactions. It can be trying to communicate better with the people around you. And sometimes it can be getting rid of some people in your life. The people who are not good for you. They don't make you grow. They don't make you prosper. They don't make you feel like you are your best. So in those instances, maybe you have to have a look around and look at the friends you've got, look at your partner, maybe even family, parents. If they are constantly putting you in a state of negativity, reframing is not going to do it. You will have to move forward, create a plan, and then feel some kind of a joy about all the positive things you'll have once that is over. Once you've detached yourself from that negativity or those negative people, you can rejoice in that freedom of having control again. That's a very powerful technique. And the best way to go about this is to try and focus on one aspect at the time. If you're miserable in life, don't think that you can turn everything around at once. It's going to be too overwhelming. It's probably not going to be practically possible. So take one step at a time and think, okay, the one thing I will work on changing as a step towards a better place is, for instance, my health. It's hard. It's really, really hard to feel motivated to eat right or go to the gym or do anything when you're stuck in a negative thought pattern. But if you just choose one thing, and just, even if it doesn't feel worth it, just tell yourself that in time it's going to pay off. Try to get yourself out of the house, go for a walk, go to the gym, if that's the aspect you're choosing. Or it can be, let me reconnect with that one friend that I know is good for me. Let me try and show that person some love. And then that might be a relationship that can support me through some of the changes that I am trying to go through. Or if you're miserable at work, decide that, okay, first off, I'm going to try and find another job. Or I will talk to my manager and make sure that so-and-so is improved. So take one little step at a time, and then when you feel like, okay, this is a change that I've mastered, not only are you likely to feel more positive about life in general, but you'll also be more equipped to take on the next step and make another change. And a key to making these changes happen is to open up your mind to the possibility that good things can happen to you. Sometimes we feel like we're in such a bad situation that it seems like everyone else are enjoying life, everyone else are able to have good relationships, good friendships, nice families. They have the money to do what they want to do, and it seems like all these good things are coming to everyone else but to you. But if you open up your mind and realize that you can have that too, you're worth it, you deserve it. If you work hard enough, if you're good to the people around you, you too can enjoy those things. Then you're making it so much more likely that you'll achieve that goal, that you'll make that change, because you're already opened your mind to you having that. But if there's this lingering doubt inside that I'm not going to have what they have, they're always going to be better off than me, all of those good things won't apply to me. I won't be able to look at the sunset with my family knowing that I've got good friends and a sound economy. But one thing that can make it very hard for us to decide what to change and start the changes is that we're not always aware. We're not always aware that we're in a dark place, that we're allowing ourselves to be by constantly going through the same patterns, constantly thinking the same things, looking at ourselves in the same way. So before you can make any of these changes, you need to be aware, so that if you're able to start making these changes, then you can also detect when you're suddenly in a worse place. And it's not going to be all rosy from the start of the change. You're going to have ups and downs, and when the hard times come, even if you're not able to break out of it immediately, even if you need a day or two to just refocus, breathe, let something happen to yourself where you're relaxed enough to start the battle again. Just try to be aware of what's happening. Just try to recognize that, okay, I'm entertaining these thoughts again now. It's doing me harm. I shouldn't be doing it, but it will pass and I'll continue on my journey. That's very important, because if we're not able to recognize that, then it will take over and we won't really be able to continue working, because we just think that, oh, it didn't work out, so it's hopeless after all, when really, we might be a minor setback, but we have a certain control. And within that awareness is also the knowledge about which thoughts are likely to trigger this negative feeling. If you know that you're struggling with some insecurities, then try to be aware of how you receive certain information. If someone says something about you, or if you go somewhere and you compare yourself, which is another topic, is very bad to do, but you compare yourself to everyone around you, and there's something that triggers that insecurity, it's important to be aware that that insecurity can have a snowball effect and lead to, all these negative feelings. Myself, as an example, there might be things that annoy me in my relationship, and I might be extremely frustrated about sometimes, and then other times they don't bother me, and it's like, why is it so annoying that he hasn't done the dishes now, when last week I was okay with it. I just said, okay, I'll do it later, or he'll do it later. Well, it's because sometimes you have this very comprehensive approach to the negative things in life, so that you allow that negativity to put everything into darkness, so to speak. So that, for me, if I am annoyed about something else, or I feel frustrated or upset, I feel like I'm not being appreciated, or I feel like I'm not getting the love that I need, then suddenly those practical, like the dishes, can annoy me. But last week it wasn't a problem, because I felt quite happy and content with myself. You see, so it becomes suddenly very comprehensive, and it affects other things. And then because I don't feel great about that, and then I feel annoyed about this, then also I'm going to lose motivation to do something unrelated to those two things. Maybe I'm not going to feel like working. What's the point? No, I feel like crap, don't want to go to work today. Or I don't want to do all those things on my to-do list because no one loves me anyway. Very depressing, but that's actually how it works. So being aware of what triggers you, what are your weaknesses in that sense? Is it that you're upset about not having qualifications, you don't have the degree that you thought you'd have? Is it the relationship to your parents or your siblings? Or what is it that really triggers that negative state? So to summarize, when you've been able to identify the specific thoughts that bring you down, and you're able to decide that you're going to make a change and you're going to move forward, and you also realize that you will have setbacks, there will be harder days, then The last key is to be consistent, and this applies to everything in life. Consistency leads to the best results. Whether it's healthy eating, physical activity, studying, working, anything, being a good person, being a good sister or brother, be consistent. Yes, you're gonna have setbacks. Yes, you're gonna have days where you feel like giving up, but keep trying. Keep going back to square one, because although it feels like square one, it's not. You have grown. And then try to give yourself some credit for that growth and see that although you might come back to a dark day, maybe the positive factor is that this time you're not letting it linger for a week. You're letting it linger for 2 days. And the next time maybe it's just going to be 1 day and then hours. If you keep track of that and you see that there is some progression, you're more likely to succeed. And let's be real, life is always going to be up and down. And for most of us, we're going to have some dark days, we're going to have some issues, we might feel jealous or we might feel angry. And a lot of us have things bottled up since childhood that maybe once back then we were in a relationship that we couldn't control. We didn't have any choice in what we were a part of. And those circumstances can still affect so many things that we do today. You might be insecure because you didn't get the recognition you needed as a child. Or you might have a difficulty opening up because when you were a kid, people didn't listen to you. No one asked you how you felt. And there's a range of different things that, as much as we don't want it to, it's going to affect our everyday life. So really try to forgive that, and do the same with the people around you. You might have someone that you love very much, but sometimes they're so cold or they're so far from what you need them to be. But sometimes that is because they're going through their battle. They experienced something in their past that is holding them back, preventing them from always being the best that they can be. So try to forgive that. Don't let anyone abuse you. Don't let anyone make you unhappy. That's not what I'm saying. But we all have our weaknesses. And forgive yourself and forgive others for making mistakes and sometimes being in a dark place. And then we can move forward together. I hope this was a little bit useful. It was good for me to talk about, and I'm going to try to do something positive with my day now. Have a nice day, and I'll catch you in the next tea talk.